Good morning, welcome to today's RC Coffee Chat. Now, what have we got on the topics list for you this morning? Right, I need to consult the list over on the right hand side because there's quite a bit for us to cover this morning. Good morning, by the way, everybody's on the live chat as well. So topic number one for you this morning is iNav. We're going to be taking a little bit more of a deeper look at, we're going to take a look at the events so far, and is all I'm doing. I'm just going to clap because it works. So happy days. Topic number two is the KaeFu. She's here next to me. We'll have a quick rundown on the KaeFu as well. That also happy days indeed. Topic number three is a Wabbit. I'm going to give you a quick sneak preview. I've got this on loan from Andrew. We will have a little chat about this little flying wing in a few moments' time as well. It's absolutely bonkers. Topic number four is the Team Legit 48. She's over there. I will go and grab her in a moment for you so you can have a look at it. It's absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. Topic number five is an unpeeling. I've got her next to me, and you will join me for the unpeeling of the masking tape very shortly as well. Topic number six is one of my best flights ever with the mini Drak, and we'll get to that one in a moment. Topic number seven is like a new section which I've kind of put in, is a shopping bender. We'll just what I'm doing each week. You'll find out in a minute. And also the last topic for today is that we will be seeing if the Hobby King website is broken. Yeah, I suspect it might be, but we don't know until we get there. So let me just make sure the audio is pretty good. By the looks of it, it is. And by the way, if you're watching the recorded version, you can see the chat going on above my head. So as I'm here chatting away over the topics which we've got, you can see the conversation which is going on above my head. So let's get straight into topic number one. And thank for that. iNav, coming back to it 6 months on, happy days in short. Now, if you don't know the story behind this, about 6 months ago, I got used a NASA 32 board, which is actually ironically kicking around here somewhere, and things didn't go very well with iNav. There was a collection of reasons, but in short, the brief summary is Texumo flying wing, bonk, straight towards China, twice. Wasn't very good, and Matt was mildly, and again, I'm trying to watch my language. Annoyed is the word which I'm looking for. I wasn't particularly impressed with it at all. And it wasn't until, who was it? 4 in the Facebook group nudged me along by flying a full-size Drak with iNav in it. So I bought a couple of boards, as you do, and went balls deep into it. And again, I've been sharing my journey with it. If you check out on the YouTube channel, you will see the Raw Maiden, which is that one there. And again, there's links to these episodes in the video down in the video description for you. It's the Raw Maiden using the Skywalker Falcon model. Again, I lost the lid on it. Nice model, but the lid blew off. So if I stuff it in the ground, I'm not going to be too upset. I probably would moan, but I won't lose any sleep over it. And in short, it did rather well. One thing which I did do, and again, it's the raw unedited version. I do have some DVR footage, so you'll be able to see me clicking between modes and things like that at the same time. And I will put an intro and an outro on it as well, because I learned a lot that day. The two big things which I picked up from that day is that we do need to be aware of 2 additional settings, and those settings, and I'll explain what the impact of I'll explain what happened, and then what the impacts of those settings are. So on the flight line is that when it went off and I hit into return to home, what it would do is that whatever direction we were flying in, is that it would carry on and then climb to the preset return to home altitude, which in my case was 70 meters or 230 feet. And then the model would turn around and then come back home. That did catch me off guard a little bit to begin with, because it just went off, flying off in a random direct. Well, went off in the same direction and was slowly climbing. I got a bit concerned because there's houses over that way, so I broke out of it and then tried it again. Now, there is a setting which will turn the model, as soon as you hit return to launch, it will turn the model back towards home, and then it will climb. And there is, again, that's covered in the settings, are actually in the comments section on the OSD walkthrough. And again, I will update, I'll do a proper overview episode, well, little set of tutorials on this, and I'll keep it as simple as I can for you for the setup, because it is really straightforward. In fact, to be honest, the only bit which I'm concerned about is that the hardest part of the whole setup process is the soldering on of the pins. You know, let me get these little pins out which I've got sat here. You know, those little three-way pins there, is soldering those onto the board, which is a little bit tricky. The rest of it is all kind of straightforward, because all you got to do is just mash a couple of cables in the right place, mash a few buttons on the screen, and as long as you install it the right way around, you should be fine. So, yeah, there's two settings. Nav RTH, climb first. And the other one, which is when the model came back home from doing a return to launch, is that it tried to land itself, which I did have a heads up beforehand. That's what it might do. I didn't know what the setting was. Now, again, there's a separate setting. It's in the OSD walkthrough in the comments section. And then that will mean that the model loiters. Now, I have been and provided some feedback to, is it Constantine? The chap, Digital, whatever his name is, apologies if you're watching this, I've forgotten your name, is that I have provided some feedback, used other flight controllers as a reference, because on fixed wing, you do expect the model to turn straight away, to return to home. Again, using RG Plane, PX4 software with Q ground control, the Eagle Tree Vector, and the FY lights. They all exhibit the same behaviour, which is that they do to return to home, and when they do come home, they loiter and they do not try and land. So, two settings, really straightforward. Also, I need to sort out the gains on mine because it was a little bit shaky, but I'm not complaining about that because I know it's just a setting or a collection of settings just to tone it down a bit for overreacting. But the basic summary is iNav worked fantastically well. On my desk, I have three F3 flight controllers. I've also got two F4 flight controllers, including the expensive one. Let me just pick this up. That is the expensive one from Unmanned Tech, which has got a current sensor on board and stuff like that. So that one was £32 plus postage. I think it works about 40 quid, and it didn't even come with any cables, which is a bit frustrating, but hey ho, and we had a few challenges with it. But in short, iNav works fantastically well, and there is a, well, let me just check my notes here. Yeah, a couple of settings needed to be tweaked, but all in, most impressed this time around, and I'm really glad to be able to say that to you, because it couldn't have got much bloody worse than what it was last time. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I've got two boards which I'll be covering in tutorials with the boards, and one set's got current sensors on there. Now, I did want to put this into perspective because you can buy an Eagle Tree Vector, and this is what I'm using as a reference. And again, the reason it's a slightly unfair reference because the Eagle Tree Vector is so brilliant. Okay, but this is my point of reference is the Eagle Tree Vector right now is $238. And it is a fantastic piece of kit, and I actually own 3 of them, but I'm at the point where I refuse point blank to buy any more, because I've got one in the Mini Drak, I've got one in the Mini Talon, and I've got one in the XUAV Clouds. So, and yes, I can take them out and put them in other models and things like that, but it's a bit of a faff, and I've always been looking for a cheaper solution. The FY, whatever it was, is a viable solution, but it's missing out what I feel is one of the most important features, which is the RSSI indicator on the OSD. No, they don't even have it in the Pro version. And the reason why I feel it's such an important on-screen value is because you can get yourself out of trouble if before Return to Home is enabled or gets engaged due to a failsafe because you've gone out of signal range, by just keeping half an eye on the RSSI value in the top left-hand, or in your screen, in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and you don't get it with the FYs. Whereas the iNav, you can have it on there and you can configure the OSD as well. Like I said, it's an unfair comparison, but that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with mine. So $238 compared to a flight control board, which costs $25, and a GPS unit, which costs $20. So we're going to say $40, $45 all in, minus, not including discounts, of course. And I worked out earlier in the calculator, I could power a minimum of 5 models with comparable features for the same price as a brand new Eagle-Tree Vector. So that is exactly the approach which I'm taking. The FX61 is going to have one of these in there. Actually, it might not. It might end up with a spare Pix Racer I've actually got sat here. So I don't want to be, like, again, do my best to be honest. It might end up with a Pix Racer in there. The collection of other models, a little wing project. I'd like to have one of those in there. So yeah, expect to see an awful lot more about iNav from myself. Again, I'm coming back with fresh eyes. It couldn't have got any worse than what it did before. And this time around, it works. Couple of settings which need to be tweaked. And I'm genuinely impressed. So happy days all round. Yeah. And again, infinitely cheaper. Again, the only thing which I class as hard is soldering on those little pin headers onto the board. Because you might do what Matt did. There is a board with the pin headers on the correct way round. And here is a board which Matt has put the pin headers on the wrong side of the board. Oops-a-daisy. So that's the only thing which I reckon you can screw up. I genuinely think. And again, obviously there's things like VBAT and you could put that on the wrong pin, but I'm sure you're going to double check everything before you do something like that. So with that said, oh, actually I've just seen a comment going on here. Let's have a quick look. Henry says, how's the Pix Racer compared to the APM? Now, Henry, I've never actually used like the old style APM. And I'm saying old style, but the thing is that APM still works. It's just the components and which have moved on. The Pix Racer, I'm running that in the Skywalker Cirrus, and it works really well. In fact, it was the Skywalker Cirrus when I actually did my first mission, which I'd uploaded from Q Ground Control. So yeah, give you a heads up. The Pix Racer, I do actually, it's not actually the board which I'm going to mention, it's actually Q Ground Control, which I'm going to mention, which is like Mission Planner, but a slightly different version. And it's the tool which I use to set up my Pix Racer. The setup process in Q Ground Control is an awful lot easier than Mission Planner. Okay, saying that, Mission Planner has improved their wizard. You can actually calibrate a board on your desk now. Before it was an absolute pig, and now it actually works. But I do prefer Q Ground Control over Mission Planner because I feel as a novice that Q Ground Control is easier to use, especially when it comes to the calibration steps, which is a royal pain in the rear, because you just hold it in the position which it says on the screen, and then it will just calibrate itself automatically. And again, you can go out of sequence, and it does it all for you. So I'm much more of a fan of Q Ground Control. So Henry, I can answer your question about APM versus Pix Racer. I don't own an APM, but I do own Pixel 2.4.8, and I own 2 Pix Racers, and they have done really, really well. And again, I've used Mission Planner and I've used Q Ground Control. Personal preference, Q Ground Control has made the experience a lot nicer for me as a complete novice with those types of software. Let's have a quick look. Joe says, what about Tree Avoid? Yes, you have FPV for those. So let's have a quick look going on there. So what I'm going to do, just looking at your comments, Lee says, Matt, summary of the latest iNav is you're glad to... yes, I am totally glad that you've all pestered me in to giving it a second shot. Again, I did feel like enough time had passed. We'd gone from version 1.2 to 1.7, so there's obviously been a lot of time, effort and energy put in there, and some of the things which maybe quite didn't exist back in version 1.2 now definitely do exist in 1.7, and of course boards have moved on as well and have got an awful lot cheaper. Again, what are we talking? $25, sorry, for a flight control board which has got the OSD built in as well, and for a tiny little bit more you can get the ones with the current sensors in. Absolute bargain. Totally impressed at the moment. So we will be doing some more field testing of that shortly. Like I said, I've got 4 or 5 boards here. I'll get some tutorials up for you to follow along. Those of you which would like a slightly elongated version, there is that I did do a live version a couple of mornings back, and I just sat here and just walked through it, because if I didn't do it live I would never get around to it, so I did it live. So you can sit there. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long actually. We sat here and had a chit chat on how to do it. Anyway, let's move on to my favourite section of these RC Coffee Chats, which is where I get to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. So with that said, I'm going to have a quick slurp of the old coffee. Let's scroll up to the top. Now, I can see the chat has been very busy here this morning, so a very good morning to Brian and Go2499. Good morning, Brad, as well. Aussie FPV and Les, I know that you've got to go off to work, so we will see you a little bit later. And of course, remember, if you are watching the recorded version, you can say howdy in the comments section underneath this video. Dang your stupid password, good morning as well. Scrolling down. Let's go on there. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Lauren. Good morning, Roddy. Scrolling down. Thumbs, Thomas. Good morning, Andy. Good morning. Not really me. Good morning, Phil. Good morning, Alan. Good morning. Anand, good morning. Phil, good morning. Scrolling down. Raj, good morning. Elroy, good morning as well. Elijah, good morning too. Odie Backer, good evening. Sir Bruce, aka XJet, good afternoon, because I believe it's afternoon there with you. Richard, good morning. Scrolling down. Riff, good morning as well. Henry, good morning. Scrolling down. Again, it's been rather busy in the chat, so I'm keeping an eye on the names, not what the chat is. So if I missed any of your questions, I do apologise. Good morning, George, as well. James. Sean, good morning, sir. Scrolling down. Andy, good morning. James, good morning. And I think I've covered everybody. Oh, and Jazzy as well. Good morning, too. So I think I've covered everybody. Obviously, if I've been and missed your name, I do apologise. So as we were just discussing, iNav, happy days. Topic number 2 is the KaeFu. Now, where is she? Now, I'm sure you've probably already been and seen the Maiden, and you can probably already see the white balance going out on the camera when I bring this thing in. And I can assure you it is as bright as it looks on the web camera, because it is extremely bright. It is fluorescent pink. And this is the KaeFu, the first scratch build which I've done in absolutely ages. I did start off with a couple of scratch builds, well, after I bought my AXN, and they didn't last very long because somebody wasn't very good at flying. So their life expectancy was not very long, potentially a quarter of a flight. But anyway, the KaeFu. Now this is based upon Dave Pinnock's KaeFu. Mine is slightly smaller, obviously pink, a little bit brighter. I won't explain why I called it the KaeFu. I'll save that for another time. It's got something on an eye there, and it might do that, but we won't go there because it's mildly rude. In short, it took me a couple of days just to build it up. Very, very simple. It's a KFM 4-wing, so there is no special cuts. As long as you can cut straight with a ruler, it was dead simple to build. Oh, I did use the Black Widow. I bought these off Hobby King. Which ones have I got on here? Yeah, I've got the Black Widow 2206 2000 kV motors on the front, and they've got the built-in ESCs. and they work really well. Now I'm going to hold off final judgment on those motors until we flame this one for a good month or so. But first impressions, they do work really well. Kind of like it. Has simplified the wiring an awful lot. It does mean that I do need to include a separate back in the side of the model. But the brief summary is that the maiden went really well. I did go on and fly her FPV. Now I'm going to move her off the screen because it really is ruining the white balance on there. I did go on and fly her FPV. Now this is probably a good marker. I flew it till it fell out the sky. Literally had a blackout on the FPV camera and I landed in the big field of poo. So if that's a good marker of how good the model flies, it's great. And we went on a couple of other flights as well. So yeah, genuinely impressed for a couple of pieces of depron, a bit of Yoo-hoo, piss poor, and it flies absolutely fantastic. Now there are plans available for it. It's in the scratch build. It's in the maiden video. Dave Pinnock has been put like some plans together. Dave's is actually 800 millimeters wide. Mine is 70 because that's the width of the board which I had. And I'm going to let you into a little secret. I did kind of enjoy that process. Normally, it frustrates the smeg out of me, and I might have ordered 40 sheets of depron, which will be with me at some point in the future. So, yeah, we'll do a couple of scratch builds. I won't be doing anything like flight test standard because all their folds and bends are all a pain in the ass. So I'm going to be keeping stuff really, really straightforwards. And to be honest, I saw Bruce's video log yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to Bruce's explanation around flying wings. Why do they fly? How do they fly? And what invokes waggle as well. So I'm really looking forward to that one personally, because I reckon that there is an option there to make a really simple flying wing, keep it really simple, couple of cuts, stick the motor on the back, maybe even muck around with a couple of motors on the front. So remove the big fuselage off the centre of this one and have motors on the front instead and have that as a flying wing. Can muck around with stuff like that because again it's only a bit of depron. So let's have a quick look at your chat. Yes, I do believe Howdy 7 Demo 7, by the way. I do agree with you because if the ESC does blow up in the motor, then you do have to throw the motor away. That is a downside, but also from my point of view, I was after simplicity, so that's what I've gone with instead of having two like 30 amp ESCs wedged up underneath. And the other actual reason is that those motors are limited to 3S. So it saves me ruining any more batteries. Unfortunately, this weekend I managed to kill a 2200 graphene pack, and it's not been very well since. So I do need to go careful of 4S currently, or I need to go and buy some more 4S batteries, to be honest. So happy days. Bruce says, have you seen any of my foam combat wings? No, I haven't. If you've got any links to them, Bruce, please do pop them in the video description or stick them in the live chat. I'd love to have a look at them to see what's going on, see what you've been and done with them previously. And again, I'm looking over there to look at the chat of what's going on as well. Right, so that was KaeFu. Oh yeah, I did get some DVR footage. Not really YouTube quality, to be honest, because as you will have seen in the maiden video, it was rather windy there, so nothing particularly amazing came out on the DVR. Was chasing Dave around in his KaeFu, but yeah, all in all, very impressed with that as well. So as you can tell, I've had a very good week so far. Also on the weekend, on Saturday, we went up slope soaring. Andrew was up there with a Wabbit. Now this is, and by the way, I will update the video description with a link to Andrew's channel. I think I've probably put that in the description already, but if I haven't, I will update it. So that's Andrew's channel, and there's the search there for the Wabbit. Now, this little thing is actually, I need to get the price right because I knew that they're $195. So we're going to say 150 quid for this little thing. And again, it's that big. It's that big. I don't even know what the wingspan on it. It is absolutely tiny and it's very expensive. So Andrew, thank you for letting me borrow this. And again, it's the fin comes off the top. for nice and packaged storage, but it's absolutely bonkers on the slope. And I genuinely mean that. It's absolutely nuts. And Andrew's let me borrow his because I just so happen to be making a foam board version of the Wabbit. So I've taken a big template out of it. This is how far I got last night. As you can tell, I may have put a bit of carbon fibre in mine, and I may have also, I don't know if that's going to come out, I have sandwiched some 1.5mm plywood down the middle as well to give like a strong bay area in the middle. I am going to add a third layer on top, and the reason for a third layer on top, it's going to allow me to sculpt the wing section on there. So if it gets anywhere near that little mental thing, that's going to be happy days. So yeah, 2 little micro servos are going to go in there. I've got a tiny little receiver and a little 1400 milliampere. Well, actually, I could probably just put a 1S battery in there, to be honest. Really looking forward to that as well. Joe says, Andrew has very cool tools, foam and composites. Yeah, jealous as the Azar, which he's literally just been to put a video up. And I think it was, I'll tell you what, let's go have a look at his channel. There is a link to it. If you're into slope soaring, Andrew's your man. What he doesn't know and what he hasn't got isn't worth owning, or isn't worth knowing, in short. Yeah, the Azart V 2.8 is absolutely massive. We're stood down there on the flight line, and there's this great big 3 meter model going straight across. The noise which a composite model makes in the sky is absolutely amazing, and the fuselage is just, it's built for speed. It genuinely is built for speed. Absolutely fantastic. So if you look him up on YouTube, Howdy 2008, and like I said, what he doesn't own or what he doesn't know about slope soaring probably isn't, number one, isn't worth owning, and probably number two, isn't even worth knowing, in short. Yes, Bruce, I do agree with you. I'm afraid it's impossible to avoid the ground. Yes, ever since Sir Isaac Newton invented gravity, and then of course Einstein got on the act as well, all RC modelers have been doomed when it comes to gravity, I'm afraid. Hey ho. Right, topic number 4, and again I'm trying to keep the pace going, is the Team Legit 48. Now, as many of you know, look at the bloody size of that. No, it's all, I know it's sat on the chair, but it's massive. Look at the size of that. I can't even get it in the camera shot. Which way are we going? That way. Don't even fit in there. It's absolutely massive. So this is the 48. Finally got the power connected, sorted out for the FPV. That was the thing which I've been waiting on for ages. We got her lammed up yesterday. That's why she's all nice and shiny. Oh yeah, one thing about this foam. The black foam which Team Legit have used, I've not come across foam like it before. It's really like ridiculously dense, and it blunts the craft knives like crazy. It really does. Literally, I went for about 6 craft knives getting these bays out because the black EPP foam which they're using is really tough, really tough. And of course, as you can imagine, I've put far too much carbon fibre in here. You'll notice the battery bays in the front, big 5200 4S packs are going in the nose. I will be using iNav on this one. Again, another reason why this one got delayed is around moving the Eagle Tree Vector, or one of the vectors around different models. Now I can put a flight control board in here, which isn't a vector. It keeps the cost down on it as well. Excuse me, is absolutely massive. We've only got a few bits to sort this one out. I will be using Velcro straps for the wingtips up here. They've got some huge, great big fins to go on the ends. And I also need to sort out a camera mounting point on the nose. So I'm really looking forward to getting this one out. When you do load it up with batteries, it's got an awful lot of gravity in it. So it's probably going to be an overhead launch for ease. But a wing, just look at the bloomins, like that's the cord on the end. That's just the wingtip. That's like bigger than a Texumo, and that's its wingtip, you know? It's absolutely bonkers big. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting this one out. Now, there is a special note, which is that you can only get the 48s now if you ask Team Legit very, very nicely, because they've got, let me get this right, Oh no, I haven't got it on there. You've got a 5D4, which is a 54-inch wing, and they also do a 60-inch wing. So they've actually upped the size of these things, and I can tell you, the 48-inch wing is pretty damn good, pretty damn big, and I'm really looking forward to getting this one out and flying now. So we're not that far away on that one. And oh yeah, massive tip for you: if you ever get the option, go for black EPP foam, because this stuff is, you can hear it. It's rock solid. Yeah, go for the black EPP instead of white EPP if you can. And I know it's heavier, but it's definitely far more denser by a country mile compared to the other stuff, which I've been using too. Four is on the live chat. You may have just seen him chatting above our heads. Again, Four and Lee and many of you which are in the Facebook group, you are the ones responsible for nudging me back to give iNav a second go. So thank you, gents. I really do appreciate that. And again, as you can see, there's plenty of chat going above my head. Good morning, First Protocol. Good morning, Jim, as well. And again, you and William, the chosen one, as well. Good morning. You can see the chat going above my head. Apologies. I'm trying to do this and I can't see a chat, but I will go back and watch the recorded version later this morning. Again, if I've missed a question which you would like an answer to, remember you can ask that as a comment underneath once the live version is over. Leave a comment underneath and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So that was the Team Legit 48. Yeah, going to add a camera module to the nose, and I'm going to be putting iNav on an F3 board in there as well. We're using a great big Cobra 2820 10-turn 1170 motor on the back with a 10x5 prop. So slightly over propped, but we probably won't be using that one on full knacker all the time, so it should be fine. Topic number 5. Now this, I don't know. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I had a little sneaky peek at it. Right. So as many of you know that I've got a HardCore 44-inch wing here, and I've got a HardCore 38-inch wing. Now that's just reminded me. Little tip for you. So those of you which are putting in motor mounts on a flying wing, one of the models which you need to build yourself, is that 2 tips actually. Number 1 is that you keep the wing beds and you put the wings in their wing beds, so that keeps the model level. So when you cut them with a knife, you always get a level cut, and you'll see that I've got a piece of plywood. Let me use my mouse on here so you can see. I've got a piece of plywood there, which I've actually moved the model up with some paper underneath to get it to the right level. Now, a massive tip for you is that you can see these pins here on the side. On either side, and the reason for putting pins in there is because I've lined up the motor mount on top of the foam, got it, and again got the right angled triangle out as well to make sure it really is at 90 degrees and the placement's absolutely correct. And then I put pins down either side and I push the pins down into the foam, so when I come in and work my way in with the craft knife to cut into the foam, is that you come across and then you hit the pins, which is like a wall, which stops you over cutting the actual motor mount itself. And then of course once you've got it cut out, test fit it, trim as you need to, and then fill it up with glue, put the glue on the motor mount and then wedge it in. And again, those pins, push them down and it holds the motor mount still, especially if you're clamping in on top of the motor mount while it's setting. And that's actually why we're not looking at the 38 or the 44-inch wings today, because they basically look exactly the same as what they did before, but we now have the motor mounts in the back. So I'm already starting to think about paint, and we do have one exception about that, which is we do have the little baby HardCore 44. Now, I don't even think these things are on sale at the moment, so you're going to have to contact, what's his face, Chris Click from Ritewing, about getting hands on these, because they're not even on their website. And again, I managed to grab one early. Really looking forward to one of these. Now, you'll notice that I've gone with blue, so it kind of hides in the scheme, and it's sort of colour coordinated as well. Again, just straightforward spray paint from Holford's. I think I've gone fluorescent blue. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to just share the experience of the unpeeling with you this morning. So I haven't seen... I'm lying, I have peeled off a little bit just to see what it's like. So I'm going to go very gingerly, and you can join me in the experience. Oh, look at that! That's come out so cool. Now, I'll give you a heads up. What I actually did on this this model, and I'll be doing exactly the same on the other wings, is that I did spray the wings white with a white primer, the cheap stuff, first, so that we don't see the black carbon rolls. As you can look how much carbon or glass fibre is in this model. It's going all over the shop. So if I hadn't sprayed it white beforehand, is that it wouldn't have, we'd end up with black lines all over the place, which wouldn't have given it like a good finish. So turn it over. So if you really are into your unpeelings, you can join me for this one as well. So I'm going gently in. Oh, I'm pulling off some of the bottom cover. Well, in fact, the bottom cover can come. Oh, I'll save that for later. There we go. Oh, the bottom cover is coming off as well. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And I tell it, while we're at it, we'll grab that one as well. It looks very cool. Grab that one too, and it should be a bigger one. And the wingtip as well. And look how crisp those lines have come out. Happy days. That's the underside. I do have a little bit more masking tape to pick off the bottom. So that's the top of the wing on there. Is that straight? Pretty much straight on there. You can actually see on the camera it's on a slight angle. That was Matt and his alignment issue. And then on the bottom of the HardCore 24, like that, I think that's come out fantastically well. Again, I will be putting a. Actually, it's kind of like that leads me really nicely into the shopping list, which we'll get to in a few moments. Is that very recently I broke the antenna off the TX03, so the eSheen all-in-one little camera with the TX03, the all-in-one FPV camera. I'm going to be using one of those on the nose of this one, and when I broke mine, I went and bought another one, so use that as a marker. Remember, I did buy the original TX03 out of my own money, and then when I broke it, it was actually really good, and it was better than the TX02, so I've been and bought myself another one. In fact, I've bought myself two more actually. Might have been three, I think. Mainly because of these little small wings which I want to muck around with FPV with. Yes! Sorry, Brad, it's not red, this one. It's blue and white. I fancied to change, but don't panic. One of the bigger HardCore wings will be the Fiat red-orange. But I'd fancied a little bit of blue. I've got a collection of colours there, and I've also got a big can of bright fluorescent yellow as well. So I don't know how they're going to end up. But anyway, that's the HardCore 24. Really looking forward to this. Little quad motor on the back, 5-inch propeller. It's going to have big wing things over the top, little winglets on the side, little winglets on the end. Going to go and get it laminated later this morning. Very, very much looking forward to it. Oh yeah, and another reason why you should spray your models with a white primer first is because the servos which I've got in there, they don't normally take paint very well, but because I've put a primer on them, they have come out really, really well. And apologies, I tend to look at myself up there at the camera and not you down here on the camera, so I'm just going to quickly pull that off. Get look, super clean little job just for some cheapo masking tape. Yeah, looking forward to that. So that is the HardCore 24. Yes, Elijah. Again, Elijah's just put this in the chat. You can see it above my head. I'll probably get one of those 24s once we can. Sucks how expensive all the right wing stuff is, though. Absolutely. But there is one thing which is like a common theme across the right wing kit, is that generally it flies fantastically well. Now, obviously, something like that, or the 44 or the 38, is that they're obviously a considered purchase. They're not cheap. They're $140 a wing, and I can't even remember how much this one was. I'd guess probably like $80, maybe a little bit more, plus shipping to the United Kingdom. They're not cheap models, okay, by any stretch of the imagination, and they definitely wouldn't suit an inexperienced pilot. But the thing is that they do tend to fly fantastically well without question. The mini Drak is one of those examples. And actually, that brings me really nicely on to one of the link to this video is in the video description. And that's going to go down as potentially one of my best flights to date with the mini Drak. Absolutely fantastic. There was me and Dave chasing each other around. Dave has, again, I haven't put a link to his channel in the video description. I will update that with Dave Pinnock, Dave Pinnock's YouTube channel in the video description for you. He's done a chase version of it when he's following behind me, but it was perfect flying conditions, and we had so much fun with the mini Draks. And again, the Ritewing stuff, the mini Drak is another good example of that. It just flies fantastically well. So I have exactly the same high expectations of these HardCore 44s. And remember, I was not sent to, I didn't buy them. The mini Drak was not sent to me for review. I bought that out of my own money, and I'm absolutely stonking impressed with it. But just be aware, it is not a cheap model. The little HardCore 24, bought out of my own money. The HardCore 38 and the 44, all bought out of my own money. So if it's not very good, you will find out about it. But I don't suspect that's going to be the case at all. Again, it's the approach which I prefer, which is that let's buy it, see what it's like, and if it's cack, then it goes on somewhere else. Prime example, you may be shocked to learn that the Hobby King Tundra, which I owned, is now being found a new home with Simon, one of the lads which we fly with. Now, it's not because it's a bad model, it just doesn't suit my flying kicks, if that makes sense. It's not fast enough. I can't do enough stuff with it. Whereas Simon is super excited about it, and I'm actually really chuffed for Simon, actually, because it's a fantastic model. He absolutely mullered his Fun Cub. So the Tundra hopefully stands up to his abuse a little bit more. It is a very good model, just not the model for me. So and remember, I bought that Tundra out of my own money, so made a bit of, well, quite a hefty loss on that one, but happy days. Elijah, the 24 uses 9 gram servos. Yes, absolutely it does. Joe, the cardboard box hasn't been flown yet. Again, that's sat in the corner with that other funny device to say on there. Let's have a quick look. Yes, and extra, yes, we were hopefully going to get some blue skies, but it's raining here all week, which is a little bit unfortunate, to say the least. Yeah, can't comment on the Super EZ, although I have seen one fly. I haven't actually flown one myself, but not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I prefer flying wings or something a little bit sportier, if that makes sense. Again, one of my personal pain points, wasn't fast enough and I couldn't do enough stuff with it. And again, I know Tom will argue with me on that one, but I've got other models here which I can do stuff with and are faster. So it's taking up space. I don't have any room for wall hangers. It's either getting flown or it needs a new home, and the Tundra needed a new home. So my point was about the hard-cored wings. We'll find out about them very, very shortly. The last but one topic is what I've done, and again, I'm just going to include the details in the video description for you. I'm not going to go through each exact item which I've been and purchased over the past week, but what I have done for the last week or two is include all the items which I've purchased between the episodes, so you can see what I've been buying online. Most of it, to be brutally honest, has been from Banggood. Again, sorry, I like cheap, you know, that's the way it is. Anyway, it's coming out of my own money, so I get to choose. I have listed everything which I bought on there. There was 2 things of note. I mentioned about the TX03, have been and bought myself a replacement for them, and there was one other thing as well, which was some metal control horns. Let me just stick that up there. Yeah, some metal control horns, which looks rather meaty. I kind of like the look of those, so I've been and bought a couple of sets of those. And I know it could be classed as rather boring, but nice, big, strong control horns. Happy days. And again, out of everything which I've bought, that's the thing which I'm mentioning, is big control horns, which is, yeah, I normally use the plastic ones, and they work really, really well. So I've got some bigger models. Again, I'm thinking about the 48. I actually nicked the control horns which I was supposed to have been using on that one and put them on the mini Drak. So those might be a more suitable purchase. So, and again, they were 99 cents, so a bit of a bargain, I thought. So we'll see what they're like very, very shortly. And yeah, that's it. Oh, the last topic for today's RC Coffee Chat is that we need to go to the Hobby King website and see if it's still broken or not. So a quick look. Just make sure I check the chat before I go any further. Right, I can see you can see the chat going on above my head. Right, Hobby King. We need to see if this Sidewinder wing is available or not. Is the Hobby King website broken this morning? I don't know. Let's find out. Sidewinder. Now, those of you which don't know, the Sidewinder is a new wing, and it's apparently due out in May, which we are now more than halfway through May. And its release date was somewhere in May. I have no idea when it is, other than it's probably coming out in May. That was the only info which we've got. If you type Sidewinder, it's a Durafly Sidewinder. Looks like a right bag of fun, to say the least. Nice and sporty, kind of EF Extra territory. I do kind of like my EF Extra. So that one will never be finding a new home, to be honest. So let's go and have a look on the Hobby King website. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have to share the bad news with you that currently the Hobby King website is currently broken because it says our search results return no results. So unfortunately, the Sidewinder is not currently available from the Hobby King. Sad times. Time for a quick sip. Right. Quickly recap what we've been uncovered today. And again, I'm going to be really, really quick because my coffee is cold and I fancy a fresh one, to be honest. Topic number 1, iNav. Absolutely impressed. Coming around to it for a second time around. Those 6 months with the development which they've put into iNav really does show. Tweaking a couple of settings, but in short, happy days. Most impressed. Got a collection of boards here. We'll be installing them in numerous of my models, many of my models, mainly because it's a damn sight cheaper than buying an Eagle Tree Vector every single time. Now, I do want to stress, Eagle Tree Vectors are absolutely amazing. I own 3 of them. There's nothing which really can touch them. But for similar features, $45, I can have 5 setups for 1 Vector. That is a epic price difference, and I will be making some tutorials to help you. I will keep them in as matte English as possible, aka as simple as possible. Stuff that pin in that on, stuff that connector on that pin. You know, really straightforward. So I'll have a walk around the interface and things like that. We'll go through some of the settings which I have, and I'll make a little mini tutorial series up on it for you over the next couple of weeks. Okay, but absolutely thoroughly impressed with it. Really kind of straightforward, if that makes sense. A lot more easier. Yeah, no foam stow. So thumbs up on that one. The KaeFu, that thing is absolutely bonkers. Super impressed. If you want to know more details about the KaeFu, it's a little scratch build wing. Super cheap, super easy to make. And flies absolutely fantastic. Go to the KaeFu maiden flight. I've got all the details in the video description on that one for you. A Wabbit. Again, I'm sure most of you have never seen one of these before, and you've probably never seen one of these before because they are silly expensive, but on the slope, they are such a handful, completely up my street. As you can imagine, I have a lot of interest in something called number 1 because it's got a Wabbit and a wicked little picture on the front, and it's absolutely skits on the slope. So I'm making myself a copy of that one. Thank you, Andrew, for letting me borrow it, because you just can't get them for rocking horse poop. You just can't get them anymore. I think Andrew got that one second hand and he had to drive mileage for it. Absolutely amazing little model, to say the least. The Team Legit 48. Let me just recap on the blooming size of this thing. Look at the size of that. And they don't do the 48. Well, I'm pretty sure the guys will cut you a 48 wing if you ask them nicely. But they do a 54-inch wing and a 60-inch wing now. and I'm really, really looking forward to getting this one flown. Finally, you can hear how tough it is. Finally getting around to getting this one finished. Fingers crossed we'll be able to fly it at the weekend. The weather is looking a bit pants, to say the least, but we'll get iNav running in that wing as well. Looking forward to that one. And then we had to mention about the 44 and 38-inch wings, and we met the little baby 24-inch wing, and we did the unpeeling together as well. It does look, I do like blue as well, but not obviously not as fast as red, but you've got to admit that has come out pretty damn well. Look at the underside of that one. It's going to be super easy to spot that one in the sky, and all it needs now is a bit of lamb, get the fins on, sort out with the electronics in the middle, and jobs are good. Really looking forward to that one. So I'll keep you up. Oh, there goes a pin. I'll keep you updated on that one. The other topic we should cover, potentially one of my best ever flights with the mini Drak. I must have watched that video at least 20 times myself, and I kid you not, I have absolutely enjoyed my own flying. Okay, remember that was actually ironically one of the reasons why I started this channel in the first place, is because I wanted to go back and review previous flights which I've made to improve my own flying skills. So that one, I am genuinely impressed with myself. There are times when I felt that I could be lower, I could have been closer and stuff like that, but I enjoyed my own flight. If you've not seen that flight yet, there's a link to that in the video description. It's FPV Mini Draks terrorizing Craig. Craig was the yellow wing, and yes, I did dive up and side to him, and I did make him swear on the flight line as well. Craig never swears. That last one when I just dropped the model right in front of him, made him jump out of his skin. And the last topic. Oh, and we had a shopping list. If you're interested in it, which I've bought over the last week, it's in the video description for you. Ironically, the one which I was pointing out is those control horns, nice big metal ones. We'll see what they're like. Hopefully we'll be with us in a week's time. And the last topic which we covered was the Hobby King website. Unfortunately, still appears that it's broken. Hopefully the Sidewinder comes out with us very, very shortly. So on that note, Blue must be a Rovers supporter. So James, you know that I live in Bristolia, and we have two football teams. We have Bristol City, which is red, and we have Bristol Rovers, which is blue. And I'll let you into a little spoiler. I don't really like football, and I really don't care. I grew up not far from the Bristol City football ground as well. I just saw the side effects, which were really bad traffic and no parking. So yeah, apologies, not a big football fan, but nice that you picked that one up. Anyway, it's time for me to wrap up. I would like to say a massive thank you for joining me here for today's RC Coffee Chat. This really is just me sharing my experiences with RC models. Sometimes we just don't know what's going to happen. iNav is the perfect example of that. My first impressions were not good. We had some bit of foam snow on that one, and Matt was very annoyed at the time. Coming back to it 6 months later, and I'm like, right, I've bought a shed load of boards. It worked fantastic, and I can't wait. If you have any questions or comments about anything which we've been covered here today, you can let me know in the comment section underneath this video. You can see the live chat which has been going along on the top. Happy days. Like I said, I'll go back and watch this episode myself. If I have missed a question, right, so if you have asked a question during the live version and you'd like a reply from myself, you've got two options. You can either leave that as a comment underneath this video, or you can nip across to Facebook. We have a group called Rag the Nuts Off. There's a link to that in the video description. It's free to join, and I think we have something like almost 900 fellow cool pilots like me and you in that group. So if you're ever stuck during the day, got a problem, got a challenge, ask in the Facebook group. There's more experience in that Facebook group than I could ever imagine. Again, that was my reason for making the Facebook group, is because I only know so much. As a community, we know so much more. It's free to join. Dip in, say hello. It's up to you. It's free to join. Just press the join button on the right hand side of your screen, whichever side it's on. The last one is, if you're new here, I'm Matt. Welcome aboard. Underneath this video, if you've not subscribed yet, there's a big red button which says subscribe just above or below my name, which is Matt Ogborn. Click the button. If you'd like to be notified of the next episode, press the bell icon next to the subscribe button and YouTube will let you know. So on that note, thank you very much for joining me for today's RC Coffee Chat. Happy flying, ladies and gents. Cheerios!